The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah, good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Tuesday, November 12th. And today, that's right, Rico, today is National French Dip Day.
I just got dipped.
I'm French, and I like to dip.
It's also National Chicken Soup for the Soul Day.
Au jus.
That's every day in our household.
I bet. It's also National Pizza with the Works, except for Anchovies Day, you guys.
Pizza always works.
Oh, man. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. There's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us platforms. And kicking it off today, we have the man with the triggering effect, the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man who is stressing up spiffy in a jiffy on a Tuesday. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. I don't hear him.
Everybody else hear me?
Oh, there we go. Now I hear you. You're quiet though. Look at you.
Right, so, my question to start my story off today is: Michigan officially the legal cannabis industry's boogeyman? Now, this June, the Great Lakes state did the seemingly unthinkable by becoming the first to topple California as the #1 U.S. market by cannabis sales by volume. After being embarrassed by Jim Harbaugh on the gridiron last season, the mere threat of the Wolverines notching yet another W on its belt and continuing to get more money, bitter southern border rival Ohio forced its own prohibitionist Republican legislators into reversing course and opening up its legal market ahead of schedule. And now it's looking like the state west of Lake Michigan's got fear in its heart too. Illinois cannabis has been plagued by setback after setback, from broken social equity promises, allegations of MSO collusion leading to the state having the highest legal prices in the game with arguably the worst quality weed. Watch out, Chi-Town, Michigan coming. According to Axios' Monica Ng, cannabis megastores in New Buffalo, Michigan, just 70 miles from Chicago, are attracting Illinois residents with huge parking lots, lower prices, promotions, and large product selections. What a novel ideas there. 70 miles might seem like a hike, but about an hour's drive is the same amount of time that you'd be battling downtown traffic or circling blocks in the loop, trying to snag a meter spot for a small fortune an hour. If you know, you know. But Illinois regulators are concerned Michigan's plans to open more shops near the border is a trend that'll inevitably impact the state's cannabis tax revenue. And this revenue is responsible for funding state programs and communities affected by the war on drugs. This September, Illinois saw a year-over-year sales drop, potentially linked to competition from Michigan, where dispensaries face fewer taxes and regulations. This all while New Buffalo recently saw a surge in cannabis store applications, with at least 7 dispensaries now open, some attracting Illinois and Indiana customers despite the legal risks of transporting cannabis through Indiana. Transporting Michigan weed purchased across the border into Illinois is illegal. We know that, very much so. But it's a shame. It's a shame that the for fireworks, and you'd be hard pressed come July in Illinois, going across that border and finding any less than half the license plates in any Indiana or Michigan superstore parking lot being from the land of Lincoln. In my opinion, it's just a free market at work. And in the absence of legal interstate commerce, Illinois' solution is right in front of it. Drop the damn prices and improve your quality. How about that? Everybody knows that dry ass Boof don't belong on no top shelf anywhere, and it's disrespectful to real smokers to even promote it as such. There are alleged price fixing situations going on behind the scenes, and people are saying it's the big box stores running the game. Well, if that is the truth, y'all want to stay big? Do what the market's telling y'all to do. The solution is simple here, and Illinois is just scared. Y'all need to fix your own damn shit. Clean up your own yard before you start talking about your neighbor's shit. I'm Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. High 9 News. What do y'all think? Open the damn market up, bro. Listen to the market.
Oh, man, Michigan is going to eat Illinois's lunch up.
And they're eating the entire Midwest's lunch right now.
Yeah, and it's funny because Ingrid Faye, she said in the chat, she said Illinois is starting to open outlet stores with significantly lower prices. You guys,
outlet weed is it past expiration?
Man,
is that all Oklahoma weed, or is it all the debs from California? Which one?
It's the weed outlet, bro. It is the weed outlet where you can go and get all your Boof packs.
I mean, look, I ain't mad at it.
It's like somewhere I'll never go.
I mean, in all fairness,
outlet.
In all fairness, there's a store like that in California that does crazy numbers all the way out in Needles, and like that's their whole business model is selling old product at crazy discounted prices, and they crush.
That's right. Well, I mean, Boof.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to talk about Boof, right? Because all of us probably, I mean, come on, right? Like we're in a category that's probably different than many of our viewers, different than most people in the United States, where if you're in any industry and you're in it a long time, you're getting the cream of the crop. People are wanting you to enjoy their product or give feedback, or, oh, you got to take a look at this, or this is.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got shut down by
Yarrow's curl shut him down.
Oh, we hear you, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm the voice of God today. Get used to it.
Look at that.
Yarrow's activator juice just dripped into the microphone.
Something happened, yeah.
John Travolta, trademark lawyer, called him and said he's got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what I would say in response to the beginning of what Yarrow was saying, like, nah, man, the fucking trap weed in Chicago is way better. Back when I was selling the shit 18 years ago, 19 years ago, it was way better than
Sounds so long ago, doesn't it?
Rico's trying to skirt that statute of limitations over there.
Yeah, exactly. One at the door, Rico.
I know I look young and everything. Black don't crack, but I am a little older than y'all think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, dude, like the weed that we were selling was better than the shit that I purchased in a shop legally last year. And I was very, very disappointed. I asked for the best shit that they had, and I won't name the brand because I don't want to, talk shit about people like directly. But
whatever.
It was pretty.
What
bad.
brand was it?
Normal.
They paid 70. I think it was like 75 for some.
You got ripped off.
Shelf.
You got ripped off.
So really,
it's the best that they had, and that shit was dry as fuck. It was harsh on my fucking throat, and I just went. I went straight back.
Asking everybody out there is for recommendations. So if anybody's got some good recommendations for Rico, drop it in the chat. We want to know where to get not Boof weed in California, please. Thank you.
Please do. That shit was trash, man. I was really, really sad. And I was actually trying to support somebody, one of our listeners too. They're like, yo, you gotta stop by this shop. And I went to that shop. It was not good. So I'm open to the recommendations where y'all got like a way better, but yeah, it was not.
Maybe you shouldn't have gone off of the recommendation, and you should have just like followed your nose, Rico.
We checked out Yelp.
Yeah, you try following your nose when it's -10 outside, Jason. Your nose, everything's fucking covered up.
Let me put it to you. Everything within me works in any negative situation.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, 100%.
What are you talking about?
100%.
Oh, no, bro.
Yep. Negative and positive situations, I work perfectly.
Yeah, you work perfectly flawed, and that's okay.
Stop the cap.
Everybody's perfectly flawed.
Mm-hmm. Let you tell it.
I'm with that. I'm with that. No, I do think that they need to just produce higher quality stuff for lower prices, and you won't have this issue with these other border states coming in and encroaching upon your territory. If not, you're just gonna get your lunch ate by Michigan, just like Ohio is, just like Indiana is, and just like anybody else even close to Michigan is, because they are winning.
Yes, Trap City, baby. Love me some Michigan. That is for
Trappers
sure.
City.
Some interstate commerce.
I mean, they have basically kind of default interstate commerce all in that whole region. You know what I mean? Like the Kentucky governor told people you can go to wherever state you want to go buy weed, and we're not going to prosecute you. And you know, everyone's from Ohio is going into Michigan to go and buy weed, and you know, it sounds like everyone from Illinois is going to go buy weed in Michigan too.
I wish you could say Illinois
Too.
Does it annoys you?
It's so, no more so than when you pronounce. Actually, yeah, more so than when you mispronounce other words.
Y'all realize the more that y'all say that, the more he's just gonna do
exactly.
it.
No, but I don't think he can't. I don't think he can't not do it. So I don't think that it's a choice, Rico. I think it's just kind of like a tick.
It's not my fault how it's spelled. That's how it's spelled. It's Illinois.
Your enunciation,
correct.
Your enunciation, your choice, right, Jason?
That's right.
Yeah, all right.
No, your enunciation, my choice.
Whoa, pause.
Illinois.
Whoa. Now you're just being a dictator, Todd.
Yeah, Todd's picking up and down.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you know what? I'm embracing the dictatorship.
Yeah.
I'm embracing the racism. Hell yeah.
Oh, boy. You guys are crazy.
Oh, yeah. Embrace.
I'm embracing.
Oh, boy. All right, we're gonna
consensual embrace.
We're going to a commercial. We're gonna be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Well, there you go.
Adam and I.
Oh, yeah. Y'all know who it is next. High at 9 News head honcho, the head gaslighter in charge.
Yeah.
Here to hurt somebody's feelings today. It is none other than Jason Beck.
Oh, yes. And
crowd goes wild.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And just so you know, we are going to be coming out with some red pills that everyone can purchase to help everybody with TDS and whatnot, and so we're working on that in the background. You guys are gonna love it. Can't wait to bring it to y'all. But in the meantime, you guys, I have a fantastic story for you guys, because a researcher sues the DEA over marijuana rescheduling process. You guys, That's right. A researcher has filed a lawsuit against the Drug Enforcement Administration, better known as the DEA, accusing the agency of multiple legal violations in its process of marijuana rescheduling. That's right. David Heldreth, a researcher and CEO of psychedelic research and development company Panacea Plant Sciences, filed a complaint last week in the U.S. District Court of Western Washington against the Department of Justice. Attorney General Merrick Garland, the DEA, its administrator Annie Milligram, and DEA Judge John J. Mulrooney II. Hildreth alleges multiple violations in the DEA's recent marijuana scheduling process and seeks injunctive and declaratory relief. The process to reschedule marijuana under the Controlled Substances Act began back in 2022 when President Sleepy Joe Biden directed federal agencies to reconsider marijuana's declassification. Marijuana is currently classified as a Schedule I drug, indicating no accepted medical use and high abuse potential. And rescheduling it to Schedule III would recognize its medical uses and lower abuse potential, similar to drugs like ketamine and anabolic steroids, which have moderate to low dependence risks. This change would also remove marijuana from Section 280E of the Internal Revenue Code, which currently prohibits businesses involved in the cultivation, production, or sale of Schedule I drugs from deducting operational expenses for tax purposes. That's what everyone's all excited about. In April of 2024, the DEA agreed with the Department of Health and Human Services recommendation to move marijuana from a Schedule I to a Schedule III, easing restrictions on the marijuana industry. Following this, the DEA opened a 62-day public comment period, which closed on July 22nd, and received around 43,000 comments from diverse stakeholders, including cannabis advocates, medical professionals, and law enforcement officials. Despite requesting to participate, Panacea Plant Science was not included in the final list of 25 participants selected by DEA Administrator Annie Milligram. In this context, Heldreth accuses the DEA of ignoring Native American tribes, sidelining small businesses, blocking his company's participation in key hearings, and using unconstitutional practices in its rulemaking process. In the complaint, Heldreth argues the DEA refused to consult tribes on its decision to reschedule marijuana when rescheduling to Schedule III and would directly impact tribal law enforcement and health services, thus placing a burden on the tribal government for which there is no supporting federal funding. Interesting argument. Also, Heldreth says that the DEA's rulemaking harms small cannabis businesses, including Panacea Plant Sciences, where he is the CEO, and claims the DEA's approach favors larger entities with Schedule III licenses, leaving small businesses with no opportunity to engage in the rulemaking process. Furthermore, Heldreth says that the DEA excluded him and his company from a scheduled hearing on marijuana despite submitting a timely request. He views this exclusion as punitive, claiming the DEA Administrator Annie Milligram's decision was based and aimed at sidelining critics. And lastly, you guys, Heldreth challenges the constitutionality of the DEA's administrative law judges, arguing their appointment by the DEA administrator violates Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. In light of these claims, Heldreth seeks injunctive relief to stop the DEA's marijuana rulemaking and pause the ALJ hearings until issues with tribal and small business consultations, participant selection, and ALJ appointments are resolved. Marijuana reforms come amid a transition period following President-elect Donald J. Trump's victory over Vice President Kamala Harris in November's election. And during his campaign, Trump expressed support for reclassifying marijuana under federal law and enabling regulated cannabis companies to access traditional banking services. He also backed state efforts to legalize adult-use marijuana, including a measure in Florida, his adopted home state. And however, the ballot measure did not pass, you guys. Of course it didn't pass. And after the DEA hearing, the presiding administrative law judge will file a report on the testimony, which the DEA must review before issuing its final rulemaking. And this final rule must consider all relevant materials from the public comment period, and the DEA must also address significant issues raised in the comments and provide reasoned explanations for its decisions. Once this is complete, the final rulemaking will be published in the Federal Register, which officially changes marijuana rescheduling under the Controlled Substances Act. Well, there you go, guys. There's the whole process and a big old fat lawsuit just to go in the mix with all of that, with all of your extra cream and cheese. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Typical case of the golden rule, right? Whoever has the gold rules.
Make the rules.
What it seems like.
Well, it sounds like he's saying that they discriminated against Native American tribes and tried to prohibit them from participating in the process, Todd.
That's right, because they don't have the money. The other guys have all the money, right?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of this could be from Project
really Americans,
Sam.
Though?
I think a lot of
Americans.
Native Americans, are they Americans? Of course they are.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Why wouldn't they be?
I don't know. Their skin's a little.
They are when it's convenient for them to be, right? Jason?
Stop the cap. You guys are ridiculous. You guys are trying to gaslight people right now. That's
Shout
not polite.
out Panacea Plant Sciences. They've been doing a lot of work. David Eldred has been on the forefront of this communication, for the last few years, and I would say arguably, he's one of the more analytical researchers out there that's actually putting forth his best effort. A lot of his documentation is what we're reading out here. It's the real science. It's a real outlook on how to do things properly. I think it's great that he's slowing the process down. I think that's what has to happen. I think the speed is what makes the mistakes and where we fumble the ball per se. So good on him. And it's the government. You're dealing with one of the most corrupt organizations out there. So good luck. Anything that's put forward by, our government regarding cannabis or psychedelics, lysergamide or tryptamines that are being created every day out there. There's an argument to be made that our society is going to benefit so greatly from these things that's why they want to keep it out of everyone's hands. And I hope that there's a resolution. But yeah, if we have rescheduling, if we have some decision made, it's going to be hard to walk that back. So the postponement of that decision is really the key.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I just want to add to that, which is it's tricky, right? On the one hand, they're saying you guys didn't include the tribes in these conversations. On the other hand, if tribes are truly sovereign nations, there are probably no other sovereign nations that have been included in this internal deliberation. So there's that. Then the other part of it is he says, look, we asked to be included and we weren't, and that's not really cool. But at the same time, he's challenging the constitutionality of the DEA's administrative law judges, saying that doesn't really work according to the U.S. Constitution. So it's a little bit.
You're saying he has too many conflating arguments, is what you're saying.
I'm saying there's a lot of internal conflict in the way that I think this is being approached, because you don't get to, in my mind, you don't get to make these arguments of I wasn't included, but you shouldn't even be doing that. And by the way, you didn't consult the tribes, but don't forget we are in fact sovereign and truly independent nations. So and I think this is a little bit of a dangerous game, in so much if you argue that those administrative law judges don't have the authority to do what they're doing, and the person you're arguing it in front of agrees with you, then did you slow down the process to get it right, or did you just strip the whole thing apart and now we're back at square whatever? So I hope this is an effective approach. I'm not a lawyer. Don't play one on TV, but I'm not so sure.
It sounds like his non-inclusion just added salt to the other wounds. So what else can I go after, right? And he did his research on, maybe it's unconstitutional, maybe it's this, maybe it's right. And it was the non-inclusion that forced him into those tactics.
Better than collusion, Todd.
Yeah, it is.
No, yes. And, did any of us think that somebody with the last name Milligram who ran an anti-drug agency was going to get this right? No, we don't. We just want to see this thing get moved forward, right? If she was named Kilogram, I'd have big expectations for her. But
that's her middle name. That's her middle name.
It stands for ain't gonna do shit.
Annie Kilo Milligram. On
the triple beam of life, she's not at the side that I want to be on.
Did there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm going to weigh in on this.
Annie Killy Millie.
Oh, a millie.
Milligram. I feel like that guy $1.
Achille.
Oh man, you guys are funny.
But and I agree that we have to get this right, but I also agree that they have been kicking this can down the road in a way that feels to me a bit more political than policy.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it all more political than policy? I mean, all of it, every time the policy is made.
That's the problem.
What do you mean, Todd?
Right.
What's the matter with that?
No, that's the complaint. Right.
Why is that a complaint?
When
you got to do business with the government, and they don't know what the fuck to do.
When conflicts merge,
But everybody wants government money.
Well, listen, Jason. When conflicts merge, what's good for the people gets swept right under the rug.
Well,
So
that's what's good for some people, not good for all people.
No. If you think that cannabis isn't good for all people, then you're tripping.
Some people are allergic to it, Simon. Some people, it's not good for them.
About CHS.
Yo, I'm allergic to the discount store. I'm allergic to the dollar store for cannabis.
Listen, on that, Rico, we're going to actually have some more info on that. So a lot of the important research that's being done now is pointing to, mycotoxins, aflatoxins in the cannabis that's creating the cannabis hypermesis syndrome. So that's actually not an allergy to weed. That's actually a microbe or a bacteria in the weed that is growing that's causing that. So there's going to be a lot more research on that. We will definitely cover that in the coming weeks on this.
There's very little failure in cannabis weed due to mycotoxins and aflatoxins.
There's no failure exactly, but it's causing a lot of the problems, right? So you're not.
Oh, there's a presence of, it's a pass or fail. So
right,
so
exactly. Quantification is not, it's happening. But if we're able to track and actually identify those microbes that are causing that, the bacteria that's causing it, that's an interesting step into understanding, physiology as it relates to cannabis and why some people have those genes that cause cannabis hypermesis and some don't. Is it the weed that isn't? And that's kind of the thing. Maybe it's certain SOP, maybe it's just biology, and we'll see.
Jenny, do you have anything to throw in on this, Jenny? Are you with us?
Jenny here?
Is she there?
I don't know if she's here.
Oh man, maybe she.
Japanese Levi's are the only jeans that matter in my house.
Fair enough.
Levi's are from San Francisco.
They fit differently.
They definitely they fit differently.
The stitching is way tighter, dude. You gotta, you know.
What? Levi's are from San Francisco.
I have Levi's on right now.
Get yourself some Japanese. The Japanese imported Levi's, man. Watch. Look it up.
Interesting.
Look it up. Japanese denim is the best.
Just before the tariffs are
will it bring sexy back?
Sexy been back in this household, baby boy.
With the DeBarge curl, I better Google Japanese Levi's right now.
Right now.
Hey, speaking of, do you know the material that the Mario Brothers overalls is made out of?
No.
Denim.
Oh boy.
What you did there.
Oh boy. Oh.
It's a little early for fabric jokes, but I'm trying my best to play along.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, on that, we are going to roll right in to the elf on the shelf, the man from the Shire, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin, and Jenny is somewhere in the metaverse trying to pick him up off that shelf to get him down on the stage for you guys. That's right. Here, kicking up a storm is none other than Yarrow Kubrin.
And the crowd goes wild.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to live in that moment right there. That premature celebration for me just reading off a screen just feels so good. Good morning. Tuesday, November 12th, High at 9 News viewers. Thanks for tuning in, smashing the like button. And good morning to all of my co-panelists here. My story today takes us halfway across the world to Italy. Italy plans to restrict nascent cannabis light industry, and this is by Francesco Piscarelli and Crispin Balmer with Reuters. Rome, November 12th. Italy's flourishing cannabis light industry risks being uprooted this year when Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni pushes a bill through Parliament to deflower a crop that is legal across much of Europe. The looming legislation is part of a broad range of measures being introduced by Meloni's arch-conservative coalition, looking to burnish its credentials as the defender of public morality and traditional social structures. While marijuana production is illegal in Italy, Parliament 8 years ago authorized trade in hemp, a cannabis variety which is grown for its industrial uses and non-psychoactive uses. Meloni's government says the 2016 law was too lax and wants to ban any product deriving from the hemp flower, infuriating local entrepreneurs who say the move could cost thousands of jobs and imperil millions of euros in investments. It's absurd that a state which put Italian businesses to work by starting a legitimate supply chain now wants to shut it all down, said Alisco Amacone, who founded a company that grows and sells cannabis products called Cannabando. They are waging a war on a substance that is not a drug, he told Reuters. Hemp contains very low levels of THC, meaning it can't make you high, unlike marijuana, which comes from a separate variety of the cannabis family. By contrast, it contains higher concentrations of CBD, known for its potential therapeutic effects, such as reducing anxiety, pain, and inflammation, which mainly derives from the inflorescence, the flowering part. But the government says anti-drug departments liken products made from the flower to recreational drugs, saying in a statement they could pose a risk to public safety and road safety. As a result, it has decided to ban their sale. Producers contest this, saying that the aromatic flowers have a negligible psychotropic component, one that affects how the brain works, and are a vital ingredient for the supply chain that spans food, textiles, and cosmetics. The hemp lobby, Federcanapa, says 70 to 80% of the income from hemp cultivation is derived from the flower. Producing without the inflorescence is like saying you can only grow wheat by decapitating the ear. What sense does it make from an economic perspective, says Stefano Massani, head of the environment unit at Italy's farming lobby, Coldiretti. The proposed flower ban is included in a broader security decree that combines an array of disparate measures, including a clampdown on demonstrations. Oh yeah, that's good for democracy. Squats and sit-ins, as well as tough new curbs on prison protests. It has already been approved by the lower house of parliament and is now before the upper house Senate. Critics say the bill is part of an drift in Italy under Meloni, who has reserved her most radical actions during her 2 years in office on social issues, such as her current criminalization of surrogacy parenthood. Yeah, because that needs to be enforced against. The problem lies with the ambivalent way the original 2016 law was written. Sound familiar, Americans? The government says this, and it sanctioned the sale of cannabis light, but stipulated that it should not be smoked or eaten. The law makes no specific mention of the flowers. As a result, the flower is often packaged as a collector item that should not be consumed, a rouse that fools no one. The government wants to try to end this legal gray area. The government's amendment is absolutely necessary, said Augusta Montrulelli, a member of Meloni's Brothers of Italy party, who has championed the bill in Parliament. If anyone was hoping to operate within legal cannabis, that's not possible with us, she told Reuters. The government's hard line makes no sense to CBD advocates who say the compound helps to take the edge off stress, giving you a gentle buzz without getting you stoned. Cannabis light contains a very small amount of the active ingredients of marijuana. It has no psychotropic effect. It is used for pain relief, relaxation, etc., said a well-known virologist and senator for the opposition Democratic Party. The decision to remove the flower from the cannabis supply chain was shameful and devoid of scientific logic, he said. Hemp cultivation has been approved by the European Union and has grown across the continent, including in neighboring France and Switzerland. Germany went one step further in February by joining Malta and Luxembourg in legalizing marijuana use. And Rafael Desciante, head of the Italian Hemp Entrepreneurs Group, said there are some 3,000 Italian companies operating in the sector with 10,000 full-time employees and annual turnover of around 500 million euros. Roughly 90% of the Italian product is exported, he said. The government argues that the industrial hemp supply chain need not be affected by banning the use of the flower, but those working in the sector, such as such and such, the owner of a cannabis light shop, said it would be economic suicide. Based on Rome's Garbatella neighborhood. I can't pronounce all these words from Italy, where Maloney grew up. Sarkanseni says flower products make up at least half of his sales. We feel like we're holding our breath, unable to work, unable to think about the future or investment because we're in total uncertainty, he said. Hi, vey, and you thought the Farm Bill was FUBAR in the United States of America. Sounds like our brothers and sisters there in the boot are getting the boot. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I hand it back to the rest of you.
Man, so this is Italy. Go ahead.
This is Italy.
Italia.
Motherfucker.
You gotta make the rules. You gotta read the story with your hand up like that.
Yeah.
You gotta really read.
I was under the.
That's how they hold their THCA joints. Like.
Right.
Yeah, I was confused by that. Is this for like Delta 8 and Delta 9, or like what is this actually
all hemp
for?
Products.
All hemp products.
All hemp products.
Hemp flower, man.
Flower.
Got it.
I think in 2016 they allowed like the like growing of industrial hemp without like a certificate or something like that, so people could do it. But I feel like I might be guessing. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. The Italian government, the army specifically, is actually doing cannabis cultivation for export in Italy. Can anyone confirm that? Because that's I thought that Italy.
I've heard that in the past.
Yeah, Italy and Portugal, to my understanding, were two of the first EU countries that were actually cultivating. And I know that Italy had some program where it was military. Done by military doctors and researchers in some certified place that they can do that or whatever. But this other thing about the industrial hemp is separate from that, I believe, and that just pertains to anything below a certain level of THC industrial use. But I'm sure they've caught on to the THCA fad here in the States, and that's probably why they're trying to shut this down. But Italy's got a lot of political issues, if you want to call them that, or a situation that revolves around a lot of influence, let's say. So, I'm sure it's pretty interesting over there in general. So let's see what happens. But if the EU is pushing, if Germany is going and moving to a pharmacy-based retail situation with cannabis, and all these other countries are starting the EU GMP certification program for their products, I mean, is push going to come to shove and they're just going to get that product in? Are we going to hear about Italy allowing products in the future? What do we think is going to happen?
Yes, you are correct. According to Benzinga, it's true. Italy's army is in charge of growing and producing top-grade medical marijuana and is using secret nutrients to cultivate cannabis for those suffering from illnesses.
What's their secret nutrient? Miracle Grow?
Secret sauce recipe.
Right.
It's all Miracle Grow they're using, you guys. It's all Miracle Grow.
They plan to grow 1,500 pounds this year.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, my last name is Razzani. It's okay. I do it.
Man. Is ambiguously ethnic.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I want to be.
Ambiguously ethnic. I like that.
Export me.
And for this story alone, the Italians are not white at all.
Oh, boy.
It's troubling to see conservative groups in any country think that their best play is to go back to these basic foundational biases that somehow are supposed to telegraph to the populace that they're strong on family values, strong on the traditions that benefited the country in the past. And with that, sort of breathe air or oxygen and fan the flames of cannabis stigma. And so I think that's challenging when we're seeing countries not so far away from Italy, like Germany, really start to figure and configure how they're going to have medical and adult use and programs that work better than not. And then you got Italy taking it back 2,000 years. This just seems like a Roman ruins policy to me.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Oh, did I hear Jenny just pop in?
I mean, The Italian mafia, and arguably the strongest and most powerful trap of all time. To say that they're not going to partake in the hemp industry, like, come on, man.
Mm-hmm. With my guy Trapazzani over here.
You gonna take the basketball away from Michael Jordan's son? No. They gonna get in on this, man.
Interesting. Well. Into Italy. Man.
Shout out to Italy, man. Yeah. Shout out to getting it.
I guess the trap's gonna be alive and well out there.
There's a lot of great Italians in the cannabis space. Shout out to all the Italians.
Is there a big black market for hemp products?
Yeah.
People like standing on the corner looking, hey man, give me some hemp.
Hey,
bro, have you been following like the olive oil market and the shortage over the last couple of years? Like
that's because they're literally burning down olive trees in the Middle East, man. Like there's an olive shortage because there's that's not the only Italy's not the only producing.
So you guys are telling me that olive oil is the European version of avocados in the U.S.
Well, there's a ton of counterfeit olive oil. Like being passed, and people are getting robbed and shit. People are like,
so was it just Crisco?
Trees and shit
just
like
Crisco
that?
rebottled?
I was today years old when my son was telling me very recently about this issue and wanting to make sure that the olive oil that we were buying was not counterfeit, and then explaining to me certain ways that you can gauge whether it's counterfeit or not.
Is it by the viscosity?
You gotta put it in your hand like this, Jason.
You got to play your smallest violin with the oil, lubing it up
and down.
Todd over there is trying to fucking milk a cat. Okay, stop that, Todd. We don't do that shit. We haven't done that since Meet the Fockers. Cut it out. And when you do, you never lube a cat's nipples. You know that. It's always better dry.
Mm-hmm.
But you like it better dry.
But there are, chafing aside, there are some products where counterfeiting is a huge issue, and olive oil apparently is one of them.
Yeah. Well, now it's going to be MCT.
So is maple syrup.
And what does that have to do with black market hemp?
It's all related, Todd.
The Illuminati controls it all, Todd. Don't you know? Didn't you get the Cliff Notes before the show?
It all goes back to Barack Hussein Obama.
Who wasn't even born in this country.
Come on, guys. It's called Canadian maple syrup.
I need to see a long-form COA.
I need to see a birth certificate.
A long-form COA pronto.
You guys are crazy.
Standardized COAs again.
You guys,
COA's great.
You just rolling, Jason. We got next.
Yeah, we're gonna roll into a commercial. We're gonna be right back.
Oh, the only Italian wasn't present.
It's getting out of hand.
Oh, there she is. What do you have to say, Jenny?
Yeah, Forza Azzurre.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep it pushing.
This plan would make marijuana legal, but would not remove all of the consequences. Explain that for us.
Why are they busting in my door after midnight over something that Illinois says is legal?
Right. We've run into so much cannabis. We've run out of places to put it.
Things are legalized, but it's not legalized completely.
My mini doc on legalization policy in Illinois is available for free streaming now at colememo.com/minidoc.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show will be up on our website in just about an hour or so.
Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right. Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry, secure up to $2 million today. And make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
Cute. And we're back, Rico.
We are back. Are we going with Jenny Beth?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just making sure because she ain't in,
No, she's there. She's
I'm
there.
here.
She's here.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
I see you. I see you. I know I see you on your cell phone. Melanated, highly opinionated, often medicated. Mouth from the South is coming to the stage next. She is the founder of Cannabis Consultant, Justice Served 501c3. Here to break us off with the first story of the second half, Jenny Beth Dills.
All right. So this is kind of not great news, and we had our friend Dana Rohrabacher on last week, and so this is going to tie into the work that he's done. In a major legal decision with potential nationwide implications, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit has paved the way for federal prosecution of a Maine couple accused of operating an illegal marijuana cultivation and distribution network. On October 15th, the court upheld a district court's decision to deny a motion by Lucas and Elisa Soro to stop federal charges against them, despite their claims of compliance with state cannabis law. The Soroses were indicted in 2021 after allegedly running a business that cultivated and sold marijuana in Maine, where both medical and recreational use of cannabis is legal. They argue that their activities were protected under Maine's cannabis regulations, which have been in place since 2009 for medical use and expanded in 2016 for adult recreational use. However, under federal law, marijuana remains classified as a Schedule I controlled substance, making its cultivation and distribution illegal nationwide. The couple's legal defense centered on the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, a federal provision that prohibits the Department of Justice from using funds to interfere with the state medical marijuana laws. They claim that just because their operations complied with Maine's because their operations complied with Maine's medical marijuana program, federal authorities had no grounds to prosecute. But the First Circuit ruled otherwise, stating that the Soroses failed to prove that their activities were substantial compliance with Maine's medical marijuana regulations. The court's decision was guided by a precedent set in the case of United States versus Bildo, which established that the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment only shields state-sanctioned cannabis operations if they strictly follow state laws. The Soroses were unable to demonstrate that their businesses met these compliance standards. Evidence presented suggested that their operation includes the unlicensed sale of more than $13 million worth of cannabis over 6 years. Furthermore, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Maine reported that the state's Office of Cannabis Policy had specifically requested a federal investigation, believing that couples' activities resembled an illegal collective, a practice prohibited under Maine's medical marijuana program. In a unanimous decision, the First Circuit's 3-judge panel emphasized that the Soroses could not rely on the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment for protection because they failed to prove their compliance with state regulations. The court highlighted that even licensed caregivers, like Elisa Soros, are restricted from forming collectives to cultivate or distribute marijuana jointly. The ruling clarifies the limits of the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, reinforcing that only state-compliant medical marijuana operations are shielded. However, Lucas Soros has filed a petition for an en banc review, arguing that the court's substantial compliance standards remain too vague. He insisted that the criminal defendants needed clear guidance on what qualifies as compliance with state laws, especially when state authorities themselves had approved the business operations. This case underscores the continuing legal complexities at the intersection of state and federal marijuana laws, a gray area that has left many cannabis businesses in an uncertain legal territory. Despite state-level legalization, as the case moves forward, it could set a precedent for how federal courts interpret cannabis cases in states where marijuana is legal. So this is an interesting one. One, it doesn't sound like they were doing it in a licensed facility. They weren't a licensed facility. She was a caregiver. And, we've seen in Colorado, we've seen a lot of places where the caregiver licenses are taken advantage of. It seems like these guys did it. Now they're crying wolf. Oh, we did it. No. Well, if you don't know how to run a compliant business, you can call me. You can call anybody else. You probably should call somebody because, oops, I didn't know doesn't cut it with the federal government, especially to the tune of $13 million. But I'm sure we have a lot of back and forth on this one. I'll reserve the rest of my comments and throw it back to you guys.
Man, it sounds like they had a pretty poppin' little trap going on out there.
Right. Sounds like they fucked around and found out.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely, even as a caregiver, you have to keep your records. And so long as you can keep your records, you can prove worthiness under the medical system in most of these states. Now, obviously, it's like, it's in places like Maine, in places like, the old California 215 law, that's what it was, right? It's like you're a caregiver. There's no facility. There is no license. You're doing this where you have the option
wherever you have. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's kind of that is a little bit like a chicken and egg situation for these operators in places like Maine. This might actually be a situation where they might win this case, but if they can't provide the paperwork showing their patients, and the collective thing that you alluded to, Jenny, I don't know too much about that part of the rule by the OMP or whatever, but like that's a big deal. If they are doing kind of like a co-op situation and working with other caregivers, if they haven't banded jointly into a legal company that can do that, then and kind of combine their patient count, then I don't know if that's really a good case for them to win. But this is interesting. This is the first time I've heard about this case. So yeah, this is interesting.
I'll give you clarity on that because I think they're cooked because the law in Maine strictly prohibits co-oping. And it was the two of them serving a bunch of people and creating an industry that's way above. Like, come on, let's be real. You're two caregivers. How much can you possibly grow? And how much are you charging these poor patients if you're making $13 million over 6 years? So what the issue was is that they were co-oping, which is strictly prohibited by the law.
I got a little bit to say about this real quick, if you don't mind.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Two things.
Pull the string.
First of all, most people who have operated in federally illegal medical models have been advised by counsel that keeping very meticulous notes and records of their activity is actually federally incriminating themselves. And so most operators are stuck between this rock and a hard place. On the one hand, you document your compliance with state law, it could help you. And on the other hand, if you document your compliance with state law, you could be tying your own noose. That's the first part of it. The second part of it is that we've all seen these TV shows where it's innocent until proven guilty. What this ruling says, and what also mirrors the Proposition 215 model previously in California, was that they don't need to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to prove their innocence by showing their complete compliance with the medical rules. So the burden shifts from the prosecution to the defendant. It's called an affirmative defense model, which means that the defendant has to show that they dotted every I and crossed every T. And as Jenny, somebody who is amazing when it comes to all things compliance, knows, even people who are very knowledgeable may not always be able to dot every I and cross every T and do it at a level that protects them from persecution or incarceration. So I feel really bad for these people. The other thing is that, there's this false paradigm in cannabis that you're either about the money or you're about the plant, instead of acknowledging that you could actually be right in the middle of that Venn diagram and be about both. And so it becomes a very gauzy argument about what is reasonable remuneration given the risk for people who are standing up collective models or who are trying to provide medicine or access to patients or custodies. And the final thing is, I don't ever trust the government's numbers. They always talk about top line revenue. They're never talking about net. So when they talk about however bazillion dollars went through somebody's banking system or bank accounts in, half a decade, top line is never net. And so it's an unfair way of framing things, in my opinion.
I don't feel bad for him, and I'm going to tell you why I don't feel bad for him. They were indicted in 2021, okay? So that it was expanded to recreational in 2016, right? There was a pretty robust system, and what they were doing was strictly outlawed. I don't feel bad for them because, listen, every fucking thing that I've done that was illegal, I knew was fucking illegal. And I knew that if I did that, there's a chance that my little brown ass might be in an outfit that I didn't pick out for some ungodly amount of time, right? It's Bob Barker flippy floppies. But I'm so sick of this. I didn't know I couldn't do that. This is not the Chappelle Show, and that doesn't work in real life.
Oh, I have a question. Was this a husband and wife? And they just said, we're both caregivers and we have an extent that literally every single couple does that, right? They say, I can have an individual 6, you can have an individual 6. Now we have 12 together. I don't know not one couple that lives in the same house in the state that they grow weed that don't use that argument.
She was the only one that was the registered caregiver, though.
And so what's the co-op? So like, who are the other people that they were working with? Is it anybody else, or is it just the husband? Are they saying they were just working together?
Let me go back. I believe it was just
they had all those customers if they did $13 million in revenue.
Jason, are you pro co-op, Jason?
I do like the co-op model.
You know, there's co-ops are socialistic in nature, right?
I am agree with it. That's the part of it that I don't like. But the part that I do like about it, I already saw where you were going with that. I saw where you were going with that.
Co-op, but I don't really like what it means.
We have just watched intellectual gymnastics on the part of Jason.
Is Smoky Vanilla in the house?
Nailing the landing.
Okay, more importantly, I'm fine with the co-op model. I think that whatever is giving patients the access they need, whether it's a co-op or whatever it is, a caregiver system, fine. But we're missing the part where it is strictly prohibited under Maine's cannabis laws.
And it has been. It's not like it's like a new law. Restricted from forming collectives to cultivate and distribute marijuana. Like, it's straight up. You can't say I didn't know I couldn't do that for half a decade. Nobody, no attorney, no nothing. If you sold $13 million in cannabis, whether that's top line revenue or not, because obviously it is, right? I think you need to speak to someone. You're not going to tell me you don't have an attorney or a oopsie shit just in case fucking CPA or somebody who could be like, hey, by the way, you know what you're doing is a little illegal. They know what the fuck they were doing. So stop, I'm not mad at you for doing it. Totally get it. Get your money. But don't plead this fucking ignorance when it's not a plausible defense here. I don't feel bad for you.
Jenny.
Get your bread.
I don't think they're pleading their ignorance, though. I think what they're suggesting is that
they're saying they don't understand the law. It would be nice if I could
finish the sentence before you fire back. I understand the Diet Coke is strong this morning.
Go right ahead. I get your standing in. Thank you.
I'm standing in for decorum and the ability to have a conversation. And if you have to malign that, you're welcome to do that.
But go ahead.
Are you sure you don't want to get the last word in? Because I'm still just trying to say one thing.
Go ahead and finish it.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So I don't think that they are suggesting that, ignorance is the defense. What your article says, and I didn't read another article about it, was that they are arguing that because their activities are either entirely or mostly covered by the state cannabis regulations, that they shouldn't be prosecuted because of, and we've got our famous singing politician who was on last week or whatever, but that under this, because of the I can't even say
Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment.
Because of the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, that they shouldn't be prosecuted. So that doesn't mean that they are saying what you said. It means that they're saying that because there is this overarching rule or guidance, that they shouldn't be prosecuted because they were mostly or entirely compliant with state law. And then part of the argument is, no, the federal government can do it anyway. And the other part of the argument is, well, you didn't keep meticulous records to prove that.
All right,
so you're shit out of luck.
I'm gonna read it again, Jason. Hold on, Jason.
We gotta keep it moving. We're way over time.
Okay, well, let me get this one off. However, Lucas Soros has filed a petition arguing the substantial compliance standards remain too vague. AKA, I didn't know I couldn't do that. All right, keep it rolling.
All right, let's go on this next commercial. We're going to be right back.
That's not what that means, Jenny. That's disingenuous. No, it means that anytime the law is...
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing, too, next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's Joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, y'all. Up next, it is the golden voice of the Las Vegas Strip. He's a dope granddaddy and co-founder of the Smuggleverse, president and founder at Digipath Labs. And you know what? He's here to break us off with a little Tuesday Talk About It heat. Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you all very much. Hello, everybody. Hello, Tuesday fans, and hello, Tuesday colleagues. California cannabis farmers call 2024 the best harvest season, and they're hoping that prices will follow. That's right. California cannabis farmers growing their plants under the sun. The weather cooperated during the 2024 growing season. Cold, wet spring followed by a hot, dry summer with fewer wildfires combined to improve yields and potentially prices. Grown marijuana is celebrated for its rich terpene profiles and earthy, distinct aromas. Enthusiasts often describe as more natural or complex than indoor-grown strains. For Emerald Triangle farmers, this could be the best harvest season I've ever seen, said John Casali, who grew up growing cannabis on Huckleberry Hill Farms in Humboldt County. Soul Spirit Farm co-founder Judy Nelson told MJ Biz Daily that the weather delayed spring planting, so he was still bringing in the last of the Croptober harvest in Trinity County. Nelson said planting and harvesting late is a double-edged sword. Moisture from the spring rains keep the wildfires at bay, but a later harvest could put the crop at risk for mold as California enters its rainy season. It's always a little nerve-wracking because it starts to rain and you get mold, Nelson said, noting that cultivars still left in the ground last week were mold-resistant. It was nice, a really nice summer for us. We've had fires around us for the past 4 years. This is the first year in a while that we haven't been impacted by the smoke. Soul Spirit flower is sold almost exclusively in farms' branded compostable packaging. Endeavor, Nelson admits, is a lot of work, but worth the effort to control pricing and to tell the brand story. Soul Spirit's plants are certified regenerative, which allows the company to price its flower higher than most of the other brands. There are tiers to sun-grown, just like any other product, Nelson said. There's mass-produced, there's the mids, and then there's the top shelf, which is most of what is coming out of the Emerald Triangle. We're a small craft farm, so our quality is very top tier of sun-grown, he said. Nelson said she was able to sell Soul Spirit flower for as much as 3.5 times more than the lowest tier of mass-produced flower, as people recognize the quality and the time the company puts into its product. Like most California craft marijuana growers, Soul Spirit Farm does not have contracts in place for its branded products. Nelson did say, though, that I have dispensaries that have supported my brand since 2018. They are loyal to me, and their customers have developed an affinity for the brand. Those dispensaries will continue to buy from me as long as the quality stands up. Nelson also sells cannabis to bulk and to Soulful, a Bay Area retail chain that packages it as its own brand. Manufacturers who want specific sought-after genetics, such as Huckleberry Hill Farms' award-winning Whitehorn Rose, likely have contracts in place because customers line up for the products. The Green Network and iPoppy purchased Huckleberry Hill's entire crop before the harvest even began, Solly said. The only way forward for small farmers is with legacy genetics, he added. With Whitehorn Rose, we've had huge demand to share this cultivar with manufacturers, distributors, or farmers. 2026 will be the first time it's released to the public, and we'll be doing licensing agreements, he added. Nelson said the pesticide scandal that surfaced in California this year has reignited consumer interest in sun-grown cannabis from craft farms. She expects prices for craft flower will start to climb as well. Said, I anticipate we're going to see higher demand for products like ours because they're rare and becoming more rare as our neighbors have to drop out of the market. Consumers are more aware of quality. They feel better. They want to make sure that what they're getting is clean. After learning about the research that determined even organic pesticides are harmful when heated up, Carpinteria-based Autumn Brands eliminated all pesticides from its 5.5-acre greenhouse cultivation operations. The company also threw away tens of thousands of marijuana plants valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars, transitioned to an integrated pest management system using ladybugs native to California to eliminate pests. He said it took a number of years to get that dialed in, and after 7 years, we have a perfect ecosystem. You can wash your fruits and vegetables but you can't wash your weed. Climate between the ocean and the mountains where Autumn Brands Farms is located is perfect for growing cannabis, Shelton added. We still get natural light, and we still can protect the plants from the elements. While some of California's marijuana farmers were close to wildfires, the overall threat was less severe this year, allowing farmers to focus on their crops. The reprieve from the devastating fires of previous years provided a much-needed boost to the industry. Amaranth Farms in Humboldt County also has benefited from its location near the Pacific Coast. It's far enough away from the national forest land to buffer from any wildfires. If you are inland, you border some of it, and it can be really detrimental, said Naya Hessler, whose family has operated Amaranth Farms since the 1970s. Though Hessler expects an abundance of sun-grown marijuana will flood the market this year, he is hopeful that small craft cannabis flower will bring in about $500 per pound. That keeps everybody in business, he said. About 90% of the businesses are gone. Humboldt County started with about 1,200 farms. Now I think we're down to 250 farms, he added. Louis Samuel, CEO of licensed marijuana delivery company Golden State Cannabis, said many Humboldt County farms slowed production after large multi-state operators entered the market, causing prices to tank. The prices hit $500 in 2023. World Triangle growers started planting again, forcing prices back down to $300 to $350, level that Samuel says doesn't allow farmers to feed their families or even pay their mortgage. And so, Samuel said, there's a renewed sense of optimism among craft farmers in the Triangle. This year, the prices dropped way down low, but you don't feel the same sense of depression as in 21, Samuel said. It's just acceptance. Don't say anymore, this is my last year and I'm out. And there's a sense of resilience for people who have dialed in their process. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and California says they have their best harvest in 2024. You guys seeing price drops?
It's down. Oh, that $500, we're well past that, you know. So it's about half of that at best on the wholesale market for bulk depths. And guess what? It might even go down lower if more people get in there. So yeah, as the cannabis industry grows, the problem is it's going to wax and wane like this every year. As people get out and they get back in because the prices are going back up, it's sustaining itself. It's just really troublesome without the ability to get some of this product legally to other places. It's a shame. This is just shameful. It's a tragedy. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, the farmers, the people that really need it are getting pinched the most because there's so many people within that supply chain in the middle of that product. And it's a tragedy. And it's like that with our food supply too. It's anything. So it's trash. We got to treat our farmers better. You know, that's the reality. And the other reality is that there's just a sea of subpar products being produced. There's not this high quality product being produced by every farm. There is, you know,
but if there was no demand for it, it wouldn't be produced.
No, there's a demand for flour. There's always, that's the whole point, is that's why it's shameful, Todd, because there's obviously this market that is, you know, it's gonna find a way to consume. So if you're not allowing somebody to do it at the highest level, and you're just putting them in a position where they're gonna have to like pick and choose between paying their mortgage and you know, like continuing their business, it's terrible. There's 100%. It doesn't make sense.
But the price eventually over time has to come down, right? I mean, the reason the price was so high because of the risk that all the growers and distributors were taking, right? That risk is gone.
Just risk, COGS, not just risk, COGS. I mean, there was a time not so long ago, maybe even yesterday, where the trimmer was making more than the farmer. So there's also just the cost. The thing I think that's also important about this article is while it's a ray of, you know, bright hope, these two farmers that were highlighted in this article are extraordinarily above average in what they're doing in terms of branding their farm, branding proprietary genetics. You know, it talks about Whitethorn Rose. It talks about how the entire crop was taken by an award-winning extract company. And not every farmer up in the hills of Mendocino and Humboldt has got White Thorn Rose or has got the Lance or has got something that is really at the forefront of what the California consumer wants to enjoy. So I think this article, you'll be in tears listening to his journey. So people buy into the product, but they also buy products where they have a connection to the manufacturer, to the operator, to the grower. And Judy and Johnny have both done an extraordinary job of positioning themselves. And I think that's one of the primary takeaways here. Yes, it's genetics. Yes, it's good flower, but it's also farmers telling their story and allowing the customer to resonate with that journey that they've had.
No, that's absolutely right.
Well, and you know what they've done? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say big shout out to them, but also it's like a lot of the genetic stuff, you can't grow the same genetics in, let's say, Santa Barbara. You know, the microclimates play a big role in the genetic selection and what grows well where. Like in Santa Barbara, you're not growing gelato. If you are, it's not coming out that great. So, you know, like it's just one of those things where certain strains are going to do better in certain microclimates. Huckleberry Hill is, you know, in the heart of the heart. So they're growing, you know, season, and the climate there is perfect for what they're doing. And it's just adaptation. But also, I think that a lot of the problem is that we're not hearing the story from the farmer. We're hearing the story from the brands. And so the brands are going to the farm and buying the weed, and then they're telling their story. And we're not getting the farm story. And again, that's why they're getting pinched, because we don't know their story. So hopefully it'll change. Hopefully there is more, you know, farm to blunt, you know, type situation.
I mean, I think that we also need to, here's where people think I'm an asshole, but it's just the truth, and it's an inconvenient truth. Like, we told them fucking 5 years ago, stop growing cakes. What do you have? Croptober. Oh, I got a bunch of ice cream cake. Cool. Nobody wants to fucking buy that. It's not good enough to be like, I've always sold it. Because, yeah, you always sold it when not everybody had a fucking box of flour to buy. You need to have a box that is trimmed well, that looks good, that smokes well, that you've done. It's not good enough, and this is unfortunate, and it's sad for people to fall out of things. I totally understand. But this is kind of where we thin out the pack. And like both these farms mentioned are amazing. Judy is phenomenal. There's actually a picture of her on my fridge. They do amazing work, and they put extra time into making sure that all of their values come through in their brand. So shout out to them. And they've done things that other farmers haven't done, which is not stand there, punch the air, stomp their fists in the ground, and throw a hissy fit and play poor me. They've gone and figured out how to market themselves, how to build a brand, how to do what it takes to survive. And so shout out to them. They should still be here.
How do I get a picture of me on your fridge?
I don't want one.
You already has one.
Oh, that was harsh, but I love that
mirror. That's cute. Yeah. I mean, Yarrow, all you got to do is next time you go over there, just put a little mirror there, and then you know what I'm saying.
I need a picture right next to Judy.
Yarrow does not know where I live.
I know you live in the thankless land of not having a picture of Yarrow Kubrin on your fridge, and that's a tough place to reside.
Fail.
All right, well and if you're a farmer and you're listening, stop growing fucking cakes. We don't want them.
Interesting. I mean,
I'll put a picture of my cakes on your fridge.
Simone and I were fortunate enough to try some of this stuff over the weekend. I will say, tasted very, very good.
Bobby's doing big things.
Yeah, big shout out Samsky and his wife Kirsty. They're awesome people, amazing energy, amazing vibes. But like, they obviously have an eye on a specific thing, and I love the White Thorn Rose. It's so unique. He did have something else that we tried. We tried some hash. I think it was called Paradise, or it was Huckleberry Hill back cross to the Paradise or something like that. And this was amazing. So that's, you know, something to look forward to for everybody that's a fan of their hash. But I mean, there's like, as a maker and as a taster, I love to try everyone's stuff. So it's like, it's really good when you get to have these, you know, beautiful, unique flavors from the mountain that don't make it down south very often. And obviously it's so good that somebody's buying out the whole crop. So big shout out to everyone in between that supply chain, because they're doing great work and it's obvious.
And shout out to Cherry Blossom Belle, who won her first Emerald Cup like 10 years after a brother won his first with the white thorn rose hash. We got to judge that for the solventless judging in 2021. So.
You know what troubles me is we've got these two amazing stories, and what I think about is the farmers on the hill that are just struggling to make ends meet, that haven't been very intentional in telling their story over the last X number of years, and who have amazing stories that deserve to be told. And I think about those stories and the fact that those can be a lifeline. Those can be the difference for some of these people in terms of the opportunity for collabs or to be in an extract. And so my prayer for 2025 is that those farmers that are still fighting the good fight and operating within the triangle or adjacent to the triangle start to tell their stories or start to work with people who will tell their stories, because there's a lot of stories out there that deserve to be celebrated and told.
Well said. And on that, we are going to roll right into Mr. Saman Razani. He's a formulations expert. He can even build your facility. He can design it. He can draw up the plans and do all of that amazing things. That's right. He also, for women over 40, he can also teach you how to say hello again. That's right. There's none other than Saman Razani.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you, Jason. Thanks for everybody here today. All the esteemed panelists and Jenny Beth from her cell phone. She called from her cell phone. I got a story today from Global Newswire about Agrify. We haven't heard anything from Agrify for a minute, so we have some interesting news. In Troy, Michigan, Agrify Corporation, or the Agrify, AGFY on NASDAQ, if you look, a leading provider of solutions for the cannabis industry, today announced that it has signed a non-binding letter of intent to acquire certain assets from Double or Nothing LLC, the owner and creator of the Senorita brand of hemp-derived legal THC drinks, HDLT. In exchange for 530,000 shares of Agrify common stock or common stock equivalents, the transaction is expected to close before year end. This is an exciting time for Agrify and our shareholders, as our business has fresh energy, a strong balance sheet, and new perspective on finding solutions in the cannabis industry, said Agrify interim CEO Ben Kovler. We know Americans are demanding alternatives to alcohol, and we believe that HDLT drinks will be a big part of the solution. I feel lucky to have found Joel and Charles and their amazing creation of Senorita. The brand needs capital and energy to handle a tidal wave of demand, and Agrify's balance sheet and team are ready, end quote. Senorita was designed and formulated by best friends and world-class winemakers Charles Beeler and Joel Gott, who collectively produced over 2 million cases of wine sold annually across multiple North American distribution outlets. Recognizing a growing generational demand for adult beverage alternatives, they founded Senorita in 2022 and launched the brand in the U.S. in 2023. Senorita offers consumers HDLT beverages that mirror well-known cocktails like a margarita in 2 flavors, classic and mango. Known for its clean, fresh flavors and commitment to high-quality, natural ingredients, Senorita offers a low-sugar, low-calorie alternative to alcoholic beverages. Senorita's HDLT products are currently offered in Canada and 9 U.S. states, including Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Louisiana, Minnesota, Ohio, Tennessee, and Wisconsin, with plans for expansion across additional states. The product is also available direct to consumer where permissible under state law via website senoradrinks.com. We started Senorita because we saw an obvious need in the market for American consumers demanding alcohol alternatives that would still provide a great experience. Senorita co-founder Charles Beeler commented, "We love margaritas, so we focused on a small number of high-quality ingredients, including agave, jalapeno, and lime, to make what we believe is the best tasting THC beverage on the market. As a result, we can't keep up with demand. So we met Ben and the team at Agrify. We knew it was an amazing opportunity to take the Senorita brand to the next level. We feel confident that Ben's team, energy, and expertise will guarantee the brand's future success. As interim CEO of Agrify, my primary responsibility is to allocate capital in a way that generates an attractive return for shareholders, added Kovler. The data indicates a massive opportunity in the HDLT drink market, making this an attractive area to allocate capital. The good news is that Agrify's balance sheet is well positioned to support the growth of Senorita and the beverage sector are experiencing. Working with Joel and Charles made sense from the start. They have an unbeatable entrepreneurial mindset that we need to win in the next chapter of this cannabis story. I'm excited for them to join the team as we work close on this transaction and focus on growing the business. We agree with Joel and Charles and the American consumer when we say "Más señorita, por favor." The story does go on, but this is a great story from some entrepreneurs and from a company like Agrify, who we've seen acquire a lot of different, a various amount of companies, and now they're moving into the CPG and specifically beverage market. I think it makes a lot of sense. Ben Kovler, the CEO of GTI and the founder of GTI, he comes from the liquor industry. So it makes a lot of sense for him to kind of put the money up for this because of his experience and his connections there. And obviously, Joel Gott, very famous winemaker, and they shared that overlap in the liquor industry. So I think this is the only play that really makes sense for Agrify, to be honest. As beverages continue, the distribution of those beverages becomes the next big hurdle for these companies, and that's where those people's expertise will come in handy. So great story from Global Newswire. What do you guys have to say about it?
Well, Jason, you don't think that the drink market is a market, right?
I mean, I think
it's growing. I see more and more of it.
Well, the only reason that it's growing is because what you're actually are seeing is the power of the beverage lobby, because I'm seeing these types of beverages in regular stores all over the place, like all these different beverage stores and whatnot. I'm seeing different cannabis beverages, and I think that opens up the field on a whole different level. Because just the basic operating out of the dispensary model, you're never going to hit any type of numbers like that.
Yeah. What's a weird market out there now too is the non-alcoholic beverage market, right? They make drinks taste like cocktails, but they're not really cocktails.
Yeah, the mocktails they call them, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's growing out of control. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, there's a big movement. I'm with the movement. It's people are conscious about what they're putting in their bodies, and it's also a lot of people are choosing not to drink for religious purposes too. So I think that there is
all of a sudden they've changed religion, so they're not drinking anymore.
No, like de-alcohol.
There's more religious people just not drinking.
I think that it's a choice, obviously, Todd, but I think it's really the focus that I'm trying to, and parallel I'm trying to draw is like the non-alcoholic, the mocktail market, as opposed to the THC market. It's growing. It's huge.
Definitely is. Yeah.
My wife is expecting, we're expecting right now. My wife's pregnant. So she's definitely on the hunt for the good, tasty mocktails. So thank you very much. And, that's also something to be conscious of, but it's THC beverages, the idea behind creating something that's going to put you in a good mood. It's going to relax you, but it's not alcohol. I think that is a gigantic opportunity area for growth in this sector. And I think that, but the problem, like I said, is the distribution. Liquid is heavy. So driving this around the country or whatever, it's gonna come at a giant cost. There's only so much infrastructure that's already built to sustain that, and I think that's what's gonna take it over.
That's true. That's why those little 5-hour energy drink type drinks popular. Sip makes those, right?
The little shots, yeah, absolutely.
Little tiny shots. That's right. That's the way to do it because that's the only way to ship it.
The group that I work with closely here, Alita and Santa Barbara, is Green Rush Alliance. They do a product called Splash, and they make it in like a little 1 ounce kind of shot thing, and it's great. It's a water soluble THC beverage that has terpenes in it that tastes good, and that makes a lot of sense. But what about the cans? What about the bigger volumes and the 6-packs.
Right, it's tough to ship.
It's gonna be tough. So we'll see, but that something.
It's not tough to ship. Just go look at Costco and the aisle of LaCroix knockoffs. It is tough to ship when you have a 50-state model, but this is THC from hemp. So it is not tough to ship. There can be economies of scale. You guys are both right that the beverage is heavy and it's expensive, but it is the perfect example of where cannabinoid products is migrating much more quickly to the CPG world, and the beverage is that inflection. And Coca-Cola has bottling plants across the country, but they're not saying it's hard to ship. They got margin and they're happy all the way to the stock price.
Yeah, because
right?
they have money, but we're talking about it's expensive to ship compared to I have a pre-roll brand and I threw. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
It's expensive to ship compared to I have a fucking pre-roll company. Can I please throw a couple boxes on your truck for my last mile delivery to these dispensaries in the desert? So when we're looking at it in that sense, yeah, absolutely. I just want to know which one's Jason Beck's favorite to sip on. Y'all know he sips them secretly in his little robe with his Trumpy bear at night.
You're so silly.
And on that note, I got to go get my nails done.
So silly, Jenny.
I like sips. Sir, they sell them here in Vegas, and they're yummy.
The difference between the pre-roll analogy and the beverage analogy is pre-rolls don't have the same level of shelf stability.
Okay, okay, cool. Does that change the sipping cost of me needing an entire fucking pallet versus me needing a corner of your fucking Sprinter van, and I'm going to piggyback on a delivery because you're my friend, and I'm going to cut my shipping costs in half because maybe I'm a struggling cannabis company? I think Simon's point still stands. I don't think that there's like an actual good objection for that. I mean, yeah, if you're Miller Coors or fucking, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but I'm seeing all these beverages in real stores, Jenny Beth. When I go to Wine and More or whatever the hell they're called, like that, I see weed beverages now.
Create a new addiction.
I know.
Put them out there.
But most of them have been pulled from like the Bevmos and stuff in California. But I definitely have seen
I'm gonna when you come back down, I'm gonna show you this spot. It's gonna blow your mind.
I'm not saying.
All right, toodaloo, I gotta get my nails done. Bye.
Bye, Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny. So yeah, I'm not saying that all of them, but definitely
not getting my nails done, though.
They're in the bodegas. Definitely they're in the but the big box stores that if Bevmo had it in there, they're a corporate chain. They're probably gonna take them off the shelf when Gavin Newsom puts out a shitty law, and that's kind of what I see. But it's everywhere else. Look at the states they said: Alabama, Tennessee, Wisconsin. I mean, there was quite a few states that we wouldn't expect to be selling THC beverages, but under the auspice of the Farm Bill, it's all good.
Yeah, shout out to the Farm Bill.
Big shout out, Farm Bill.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get our kids straight.
You got any?
That's a couch.
Out.
You guys got anything else you guys want to say before we close out?
No. I'm good. I gotta go.
No, I want to point something
Yarrow
out.
has something to say?
Yeah, which is in this last article, it talks about money. And so it's not easy to raise funds in regulated cannabis or under-regulated hemp. And yet these beverage plays where there's some traction, decent formulation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, there's money pouring into that small sector. So you can poo-poo it, Jason, but I would say the market in terms of capital markets is validating enthusiasm.
I mean, I think that Ben Cobbler's obviously choosing to put this money there because he understands the business model. And if it wasn't that, then he wouldn't put the money there. So I don't think money's pouring in. I think that people have money and they're being very cautious where they're placing it. And if the CEO at the top level of those corporations doesn't understand the fundamentals and can't make the layup, hey, they're not going to do it. They're not going to put the money there. It's too valuable right now.
And I mean, in all fairness, too, GTI did just buy a NASDAQ listed company just recently as well.
Hello. Reverse fucking play. I like it. Reverse public play. That's a good move.
Maybe they know something that they got some interesting information and whatnot. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and huge thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us all a reason to come and do this every day, and thank you to Cloud Media Partners. Adam in the building today. Oh, yes, and thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.